What's going on, guys? Dan Cal here with Liquidation Pros. Joined with Chris from LiquidationOH, and today we want to talk about what your next step is going to be after you've gotten your first liquidation lot. So you've made your order, it showed up, and what's going to be the next steps to eventually get this product sold. So Chris, why don't you give yourself a quick introduction?
Welcome, everybody. Chris from LiquidationOH, or Ohio. I sell everything from liquidation, wholesale, thrifted items. I sell across multiple platforms from eBay, Amazon, Poshmark, dabble in Mercari, Facebook Marketplace. Anything that I can sell, I'll sell it. But yeah, in terms of tonight's show, we want to let you know what you do when you bring in liquidated merchandise, pallet merchandise, different steps you take, different processes. I might do something differently than Dan does, and how it works for both of us in our spaces.
Yep, and so the title's so you bought a liquidation lot, now what? And for those that are new or just finding this video, this is our 5th episode, and we've been alternating channels. So you want to make sure you go. I have the link to LiquidationOH's channel down below. Make sure you go sub to him as we alternate this show. And then we've actually also discussed having like a home platform for the show to where we can at least download all the videos to another channel, so it's easier viewing for anyone out there that wants to go back and listen to the replays. So now what? That's the question for today. Before we get into that, let's give a couple quick updates. How's your week been? How has sales been? I know you've been mainly focusing on a lot of the wholesale inventory from ASD. How's that going?
Good. So I got most of it listed. I have one box still to open of one of my jerseys. So I got that that's still open. I have 3 more coming tomorrow. I just opened the set of hats I got just arrived today. So I got to get the hats listed. I'm still working through my 8 boxes of liquidation behind me, so that's kind of taking a back seat. So this large SKU items can get up just because the testing, the work related into liquidation, at least when I buy electronics, takes a lot of time. But some of my electronic sales have been great this week. I mean, my shoe returns, I know you crushed me in shoe returns, but I sold a nice pair of Ariat boots. I got a bunch of them listed today, so a bunch of my shoe returns listed. But yeah, crank it through the liquidation now.
Yeah, we had a pretty good week for shoes, and that's not even, I don't have them all listed yet. I just listed, just approved another 75 listings tonight, and a bunch of those were shoes. And then I probably have another 20 pairs that are in queue waiting to be photographed. And then I have like 100 to 150 pairs that I'm going to sell locally or next winter because they're a little bit cheaper, and they are more of like a winter style shoe, and they probably won't do well right now. But yeah, I think just last week, within the week, sold over 40 pairs of shoes. So that's the first time I ever bought shoes in bulk, and pretty happy with the turnover. I will say, of the brands, Adidas has been one of the fastest moving. I didn't get any Nike. I know Nike's obviously good, but Adidas was like, as soon as I listed them, they were selling. So pretty happy with that. And then also I did get another load of winter apparel. It was a pallet of winter gloves, and then 2 pallets of like coats and mixed winter returns. So most of that will be taken over to storage for next winter. And then while I'm there tomorrow at storage, I'm going to grab a pallet worth of summer stuff that I saved from last year. So it's like men's swim trunks, men's shorts, stuff like that. I think some t-shirts, but maybe not many. Most of the t-shirts you can sell year round. What about, do you have any big sales this past week?
Let's see, the big sales. I sold a couple of my jerseys. They'll sell anywhere from 70, 80 bucks. I sold an old Mitchell Ness Michael Jordan jersey. Sold a pair of running shoes for, I think, 80. Pair of boots. Those boots were awesome because I cross-post my shoes now between Poshmark and eBay. And I actually took a best offer for 100 bucks on Poshmark and I think I made out, don't quote me on this, I think it was like $88, because I don't want to say shipping's free, but once they say 88 is your earnings, that's your earnings. Just print out the label and you go.
Right.
So that's the nice thing.
Yep.
What about you?
I don't know if, for those that are watching this live or later on, this whole shelf for in this area here, I had a bunch of rocket fish, computer surge protectors. It's like 7 of the same model, and actually had someone purchase all those in one shot. So they were like $35 a piece. So it was like over a $300 order going out in one box. So that was plus shipping. So that was nice. And then I had an interesting sale the day before yesterday. A guy contacted me. He was local, like 45 minutes to an hour away from me. And he's like, hey, I need these today. You know, pretty much we'll pay full price right now. Is there any way I can pick them up? And I mean, he had over 900 positive feedback. He was a buyer. He wasn't a seller. It was a computer part, like a power supply for universal power supply. And I think I had him listed for like $27.95. I was like, you know what? Let's give it a try. So I went in and changed it to local pickup being allowed. And he bought and paid and actually sent. The guy apparently owns a computer shop up at like the Pennsylvania-Maryland line. So from me, not too far. And he sent one of his workers down to pick it up. It was a pretty seamless transaction. So paid through PayPal. And then I was over storage earlier in the week because he said he would buy up to a dozen of them. And I had 3. And actually over in storage, I had 9 more. So I got to reach out to him and see if he wants those other ones.
Do you get any returns this week?
Yeah, I had 2 or 3. I normally get a return probably every other day.
Yeah.
It's when you know, selling as much as I do, it's going to happen. Especially, I'm selling a lot more clothing now. I've already had 2 people request returns for shoes. I do free returns, so just kind of cost of doing business.
Right. What and you said you have nothing coming in this week, or one thing?
Let me think. Right now, I don't have anything the rest of this week. No, but I mean, I'm pretty bogged down on inventory. I have a few other projects I need to finish. I'm still finishing up the DJ equipment stuff. I need to well, the shoes are finished, but I need to make sure my helper gets those listed, and then I need to take care of this winter apparel. So I'll be looking again probably next week. I did get the majority of my taxes prepped. I need to finalize a few things for my CPA, but I'll be finishing that up this weekend. Last week I spent like 2 days working on that. So,
are you still actively looking for inventory?
I mean, I'm always looking. Right now, it's like it's got to be a really good deal. I also still have the sporting goods play in the back burner. Still waiting to see what's going to come of that. I'm fully approved. They told me earlier in the week actually that they'd have a list for me of closeout stuff and returns this week. So I'm hoping that pans out. My understanding, I don't know if they've ever even dealt with a liquidator before, so this should be interesting. I don't even know if they know what to expect as far as pricing goes and all that. So,
right.
Let's see.
What type of sporting goods? Clothing? Hard goods?
It's a very specific niche of. I mean, I can say it's a paintball company. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yep. Friend of mine was really big into paintball. I used to play when I was younger, and a friend of his became the VP for a pretty large corporation. So waiting to see. It could be guns, it could be packs, it could be paint, it could be all kinds of different stuff. So, and I have my buddy, him and his son are willing to help with like testing and all that because he's still involved in it. So if I do get a bunch of like return guns, I could take it to him, have him test them for me.
So this might answer that question, but Pac-Man asks, have you ever been contacted by a business to liquidate merchandise?
I have not.
An opportunity, but nervous to spend money.
Have I ever been contacted by a separate business, like a B2B situation, to liquidate for them? I have not. I mean, I'm fairly new to YouTube. I'm thinking with broadcasting what we broadcast, it'll probably open us up to opportunities down the road, but I've never had anyone reach out to me specifically. I do reach out to companies, and I do also reach out for wholesale deals as well. So if I see a fairly hot product in the categories I'm familiar with, and it's like it's not prime or the listing on Amazon is pretty bad, I will shoot them a message and let them know what I do and that, you know, I'd be interested in buying the product. And that's, you know, 1 out of 20 maybe. Well, 1 out of 10 you might get a response, and maybe 1 out of 20 you get a you can work a deal with. But
yeah, that's the other thing. What type of deal would the person be wanting to make?
Yep.
You take control of the inventory. What type of inventory is it? How big is it? That sort of thing. How quickly does it move? Seasonal.
Well, most of them are smaller brands, and they're just doing merchant fulfilled, and you just let them know, hey, look, you know, you can maintain the merchant fulfilled. Your sales are going to go down. I will not sell merchant fulfilled, but I will sell Amazon Prime FBA, and which, I mean, you're going to match their price. You're going to pretty much get all of the sales unless someone buys it that doesn't have Prime. And a lot of companies are happy with that if they can get what they need to be profitable selling in bulk.
Yep.
So, yeah, so that's pretty much it for the updates. Anything else you got on that?
No, I mean, like you said, I'm continuously looking for product. I actually went out the other day, started looking on liquidation.com, see what else is out there. But I guess in terms of what we're talking about tonight, kind of weighing on my mind, I'm still trying to get through the stuff that I have before I take in 2 to 3 more pallets of shoes.
Now, did you process all the shoes?
So in terms of process, I went through them. I kind of made kind of which ones I want to put up versus how much I need to go through and clean. But I did go through it and look at them. Yes. I just haven't listed all of them.
Gotcha.
And you already went through yours, correct? Yours are already up?
Yeah. I mean, my part of the process is done. So I'm just waiting on I have help coming tomorrow and then on Sunday. So they'll all be listed by next week. So
do you process? So let's say an order's coming in. How do you process a parcel lot differently than a pallet lot?
Not necessarily. Okay. It just really depends. And a lot of times my help can process. My wife's been helping with the process and the winter stuff. She enjoys looking through the clothing, so that's been working out pretty good. But right now I just don't have a lot of help. They're all 2 of the girls are busy with, one's prepping for college and one plays college sports. The other one's doing all this scholarship stuff right now in preparation. So they just haven't had a lot of time to help me out. So which means I'm doing a lot more of the actual grunt work of going through the product, which I don't mind. That's one of my favorite things is like ordering it and then going through it. I just don't like photograph. I don't mind photographing it. I despise listing. So I definitely have, hired somebody for that. Now my lister is remote, which we've talked about previously. I hire someone through Upwork to do what I call like a data entry position. And she's available pretty much. If I give her, so I just sent her 75 listings on Monday night, I think it was, and she got back to me today that they're all done. But shoot, that would be maybe 5 to 7 hours. I have to go back and look for this week. Last week she worked like 4 hours, listing 50 items. So, but it's the photos are taken, everything's priced, the shipping's already figured out. It's literally a data entry position, so pretty much anyone can do it.
Right. And for those that just joined or didn't know, I mean, Dan has a full-time job during the day. I myself have one. Parcel deliveries for me, like boxes, I have really no control. I mean, I guess you could control them, but those just come to your door 7 days a week, right? They just come there. They're there when you get there. But in terms of pallets, right, you have to schedule the pallet delivery. You have to be here, and 9 times out of 10 to sign for it. How do you set up your pallet deliveries with your schedule?
So basically my corporate job, I work from home on Tuesdays and I'm off on Fridays. So I have those 2 days as options. And my boss in the company is pretty flexible. If I need to take like an hour off in the middle of the day and make it up later, or just, miss that time, or take a lunch break, something like that, it's not the end of the world. So normally I'll look at the weather. They say they call me on Monday, like they did this week. They said, hey, your shipment's here. It's ready to be delivered. I'll look at the weather real quick, and because I'm looking at either which day's better, Tuesday or Friday. Because it's going to be like raining all day Tuesday. I don't have any covered area. I need to get it in the house quickly as possible. So this week, Tuesday looked good. So I just scheduled it for Tuesday. And he actually came at around 12. It was like around 12:30. So it was perfect. I was on my lunch break anyway. Signed for it. And then I just let my boss know I was taking like an extra hour break because I wanted to get it in the house. And my wife was here at the time. And my 3-year-old daughter was napping. So the two of us were actually able to bring it in pretty quickly. Now, had it been raining or crappy weather, I could have scheduled it for Friday. And then I've had situations where I had to schedule. They'll normally give you, like, depend on the freight company, like 5 or 7 day max time to hold it before they start charging you. You'd have to check with them, but most times they're like itching to get you to take on the delivery.
So now so you have the delivery scheduled, it's not there yet, let's say. What are you doing in your workspace? Are you doing anything differently? Because you know you have this large influx of stuff?
Yeah, so pretty much the night before, 2 nights before, everything that I've been putting off has become a priority. So it's like, all right, this stuff needs to be listed and out of here, or it needs to go to the stuff that's been needing to go to storage that's kind of been in the way is actually going to storage. You know, you're working a little bit of a later night than normal just to get prepped and get the area cleared out. For me, my basement's probably like 800 square feet, and I used 80% of that. And so I have an area for processing. I have actually 4 different workstations down here. This is just kind of like my this used to be my old bar that was down here. I converted to like the YouTube area. But over to my left is like the processing area where it's the main part of the basement, kind of what's behind you, like the bigger area.
Right.
That's where I try to get cleared out so that we can bring the product in and start stacking it up. So the first goal is getting an understanding of how much space it's going to take, getting the room ready, and then once it's in, I can schedule another time to start going through it. I don't have to do it that day.
Right.
But it's critical that I have the space, the room, and all that to get it into the house.
So at least for pallets, for me, I can drop them in the garage. So that's kind of what I did last time, and I sat on it for a day or two before I broke it down. But once I break it down, I'll bring it in the house, and then I'll work it from there. Yeah,
I mean, I will say pallets are a little trickier with that aspect, is that someone needs to sign for them always, and you know, it's a pretty large. It takes up a large area of space, so even if you have a garage, you know, now you're blocking up the space for your car or whatever you normally would have there. So they tend to take some immediate attention, whereas a smaller lot from liquidation.com, like we recommend people kind of get started with, you know, they drop it off on your front porch. Normally it's not too big of a deal.
So once you get it in, how do you start going through it? Is there any special way you go through the product?
Yeah, so the first thing I like to do is look at the manifest and get that prepped and ready to start having an idea of what I'm planning on. Basically, there's like more than two options, but the main two are, is the product getting sold online or is it getting sold locally? And then obviously if it's like flawed or missing tags, it's kind of a special scenario. Or if it's like electronics and it doesn't have the cable you need to plug it in, there's all these different scenarios if it's not perfect. But for the items that you assume that everything's there, it looks good, everything checks out, what are you doing with it? So I kind of have the manifest prepped, and I'm going off the price a lot of times off of that. And I will go, and at the time of, you know, as we look at it, double check the value real quick. And what you're doing is just kind of getting ready to prep everything to be inspected. So clothing for me, I do a lot of clothing because it's easier to hire help to go through clothing. I've mentioned this before, but the first step for us is we will sort everything by brand. Because I am working in a fairly small space, I like to sort all the, you know, Levi's in one area or one box, all the North Face in another box, all the socks or whatever it is, I'm getting separated that way. And then the next time I'm working, we can say, all right, let's go through all this stuff and actually sort it out on the tables. because then you know that later on you're not going to come across another bundle of socks and you're like, crap, now I got to take the time to go and add that to the listing. You already have everything there. And then also if you have two sets that are both brand new, but both of them are missing a pair, or one's missing two and one's missing one, you can make a full set and then take the other one and discount it for like your to be sold locally flea market yard sale pile.
Right, yeah. So you have your different piles set up. That's kind of what I do. I take because I know based on the top 10% of the list, I know those are the ones that are going to be my money makers. So I look for those in the box to start with. I kind of go through my lot. I go through list immediately, list next, and pretty much junk or garage sale. And as long as I get my list immediate up, I will at least make money and or pay for my lot quickly. Then the ones that need to do work, either I have to clean them, I have to find pieces for them, figure out a different way to sell them. But those are kind of like the bread and butter items. And then the other stuff is I save for garage sale. Those are your dollar items, right?
Yep.
Get rid of those as quick as possible.
I mean, I think having that game plan for what and where, or like, depends on each item, but then also what your cap is for what you want to, like, what your pricing caps are. I've broken it down. I have a spreadsheet for my help. Most of the girls and guy, they have a good understanding, and I can kind of tell them ahead of time. But normally around $25 is my cutoff, unless it's first class, and then I'll go down as low as 15. I'll go as low as around 10 if I have a lot of the same item. So I will sell a $10 item if we have, like, if it's first class and we have say 20 of them. But that's a lot of times I'm encouraging them now to create bundles. So take a $10 item and try to get 3 of them for 25. If that is the type of item they'll sell as a bundle. Jeans, you sometimes can do like a 2-pack if they're cheaper brand, the same exact one. But socks or something like that, or lighter weight T-shirts that aren't very expensive, you could do bundles, things of that nature. So,
I mean, when I first started, I tried to list everything, and now I don't do that, just because, like you said, anything under $10, you're making $1 or $2. If you have the time to put that up, yeah. After the time all said and done, the packing to get it out, mailing it, and then a potential return, then you're sunk already. So those, to your point, those $10 items under that, you got to think of a different way to get rid of those and up the profit to make it worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, on average, it's costing me $1.50 to closer to $1.50 to $2 for clothing per item in labor. So and any other like minor overhead, poly bags or this or that, but
right.
I got to keep that in mind as I'm buying. So, or as we're determining what to sell. So I literally have like a pie chart, not a pie chart, but a breakdown chart that says if it's this weight, like what weight class is it in? Okay, then what value is it in that weight class, and then where does it go from there? Does it go locally? Does it get go to eBay? Does it go to Amazon? So, and in that as well as the condition. So once they figure out the weight and the value, is it brand new with tags, or is it like new open box, or is it used? So that's been pretty helpful, especially when I'm training someone that's new. Luckily, I've had the one girl now for going on 3.5 years, and the other girl now for 2 years, and I have another guy that just helps me on and off, mainly with like labeling, Amazon stuff. When I have like a couple hundred of the same thing, I'll shoot him a text and say, hey, you want to do some labeling?
And as you start buying the same types of lots, like I say I do shoes, but the way I process shoes, the way I process an electronics pallet, I've learned the way things to look for, the way I process a little different in both. That when you're first starting out on a new category, you're going to learn the ins and outs of what to do and not do. So your first one probably is going to take you a while. You're going to learn what to do with it. So don't get discouraged if you're double touching things. You're looking at things differently. You pick it up the third time, you find out it's the completely wrong item. So you start to learn what to look for.
Yeah, your process is definitely going to change the more experience you get. the more assets you have, the more buying power you have, the more help you have. Everything changes once you. And I've gone through the whole process from getting the small lot to jumping into pallets and to now doing a bit of both. So
once you get your stuff listed, either you or your helpers list it. What do you then store it? Do you store it? You have spots for it? Did you already make spots for it? Your inventory?
Yeah, so I have I don't even know how many linear feet it is of storage, but it's pretty much the whole length of my basement, and then this little extra pop-up one over here. But you can buy like these storage racks here from eBay. They're like the 6 tier, I think, $60. They're metal. They're actually pretty decent. And then when I first got started over on the backside where like my listing area is, I built some custom shelves in that back unfinished basement area, which have held up pretty good. But yeah, so when I create my ready to list label for the product that's getting ready to be listed, I put on there what storage bin it goes in. I've already predetermined where it should go. So they photograph it and then they know where to put it, or they assign it. If it's not listed on there, they'll assign it a spot. And then that storage location goes into the custom label SKU on eBay. And then Amazon, I do all FBA. So I noticed my camera's out. I'm going to try to get that fixed real quick. But Amazon, I do all FBA, so the actual storage location isn't as important. I just keep track of what I have in overstock overage storage, so I can go get look up. I can look up UPCs from home and decide whether or not I should be adding it to FBA inventory.
Do you do anything with electronically with the manifest? Like for me, I copy the electronic manifest and I already have a template made out, so I can go through and as it sells, put my fees into it. Do you do anything with that?
For the manifest they give you, to me, it's a really important tool. Going back to our show, was it the week before last, when we talked about, how to buy a lot. We talked a lot about the manifest, so I won't get into too much details there.
Yeah.
After the fact, the hard thing with the manifest is you can't always go by the pricing they put on there. So we always double check what we think it's going to sell for. There are some sites that I deal with that the pricing is a little bit more accurate to what the item is actually worth. But for me, it's just a quick guide for my help to say, I can go through the manifest and highlight certain items and say, okay, keep your eye on these. I need to get these listed ASAP, or these are priority, or, this item, as you can see, has multiple quantities of 20 or more, or 3 or more, or 4 more. And we can go back to earlier. We talked about prepping your area. You want to be able to sort those items that are the same in the very beginning. So then you can go back through and create single listings or different condition listings. But
sometimes too, when I go through and process it, if I find multiples of the same items, like this last one I went through, I found, I think it was 8 or 10 vacuum air filters, and they were brand new. The only issue was some minor shelf wear on the boxes. I pulled those out immediately and I listed it because I knew filters sell really well. Air filters, refrigerator filters, especially multiple lots, and those alone paid for my whole lot. So I look for multiples. That's one of the process steps.
Taking a quick second here to add a couple moderators, just to I think this is only my 3rd or 4th live show, so
get some wrenches in there.
Get some wrenches in there. People are asking. But so going back real quick to the manifest, to me, it's most important when I'm determining whether or not to buy the lot. After the fact, I already have the product, so I can do all the research and all that. It is good for your inventory processing, to add that to your actual inventory system. But there's a lot of also going back and forth because of, damaged items, and you got to go back and remove it and all that. So I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely use the manifest as I process it, as I get it.
And then I had down a quick note of like what to expect as far as damage, flawed, loss. I typically go off a general rule of thumb of like around 20%. Some are going to be better, some probably will be that, or maybe a little worse. But to be safe, that's what I go with. What about you?
That's about right. 20% is usually what I look
Yeah.
for.
And
Any
then
What's that?
I was gonna say of that 20%, you can still salvage, some of the costs there and sell for parts or as is or part stuff out. But you will get some broken stuff and some damaged items. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's the
Now,
thing. I do a lot of work in the front end, as we talked about before, selecting the right lot. So if there is shrinkage or if there is loss in it, then I can still at least make my money back.
and then we can talk about real quick some of the stuff that's missing parts. Or, for instance, I had 4 pairs of shoes last week that didn't match up sizes. So, like, one was an 8 and one was a 10, and one was a 7.5 and one was a 9. They same shoe, looks exactly the same. Check. They don't look the same because they're different sizes. But so I have 2 options. I actually didn't realize, but you can sell single shoes on eBay. So that's one option, is I can sell a single left or single right shoe. Another option is I could save them if I'm going to be continually buying shoes in hopes that eventually I get, that matching pair. The same thing with electronics. If you get something without the remote or missing the power cable, you can go and obviously on the eBay and buy that and test it that way. Or you can save it if you know that you're going to be continually buying electronics. You can build up a stockpile of different parts that you'll need for future testing. I know you do that for electronics, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Pac-Man says 2 left shoes. I thrifted a pair of shoes that I didn't realize until I went live. I had 2 left feet. But yeah, I save parts. I try to save with as much space as I can. I save, like, I had a bunch of phone mount holders for your car, and they were missing various pieces. I was able to Frankenstein, I think, 4 of them together at a brand new unit at that point. So.
Yep. And then the last part of I had prep, process, and then obviously you got sell, ship, customer service, returns. I think we'll leave that for another show. But if anyone has any questions, we can probably move on to that. I know I've seen a couple earlier. I don't know if we hit any of those. But guys, if you have any questions, you'll put them down in the chat now. We can try to catch up on any of those. Did you have anything else to add to the prep or process?
There was one question up there, and then I had a question for you. Pac-Man asked, do you ever use stock photos to save time or temp list until you can take photos?
99% of the time I use stock photos. We use our own photos. The other 1% is because there was an issue with the photo and the item's been bagged and put away, and I just go in and grab a stock because it was a mistake that photographer made or something along those lines. But we always photograph everything in-house ourselves.
Same here. Yeah, I tried never to use stock photos.
Yeah.
I will only use stock if, like, for example, I buy some from some of my closeout people and they have really great pictures and it's the same item. Those aren't stock. I will use their photo.
Yeah, but you've also, through buying from them, you've gotten the rights to use, I'm assuming, their photos from their website. So some of my when I do some of the wholesale deals, I'll ask them, hey, can I use your photos? And most of the times they say, yeah. So you have the right to do that, but you legally are not allowed to go into Google or on eBay and take someone else's stock photos. That's copyright infringement.
Great point. Make sure you ask before you do that. I should have led with that.
Yeah. Yep. And I've had people using my photos before, which is pretty annoying. But
oh, really? I never had that.
Yep. Several different times I saw my photos out there. I've gone back and looked at solds to figure out how many I sold or what it was selling for. And I'd see my item and I'd see someone else selling it and using the same picture as mine. So they went, when they found, like, they were doing their research instead of taking the photos themselves, they saw my sold, so they downloaded my pictures and used that. as a a cheap way out. And then obviously the drop shippers are doing that as well. They're stealing stock photos,
Yeah.
breaking the rules for that as well.
I think of it like I shop. I tend to steer away from stock photos. If I'm buying something myself, I want to see what I'm buying, right? If it's a used item, I want to see exactly what it looks like. So that's what I try to think as I'm listing.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I think stock photos on eBay anyway, people tend to think it could be a drop shipper, or they're it's someone that's lazy and not going to put the work in to take their own photos, so they're probably going to have a problem with them. So we try to take all of our own. We do run into problems sometimes where I'm like, damn, this photo's so good, it looks like a stock photo. So, and I don't know what everyone. I know people promote different apps for photo. I just use Amazon's Photo Studio. I've mentioned it before. If you're an Amazon seller or you join up for the free account, you can go in the app and use Amazon Photo Studio. And I mean, if you have a white background, the pictures are awesome.
Question: do you get a ton of loose items? What do you do with them? How do you get rid of them? He has cords and chargers.
If I had a ton of loose cords and chargers, I'd probably stick them out at the flea market. I mean, if they're valuable, you can look up the model or part number on the cable, but most of them are going to be less than $10. You could bundle them up as a big lot, and sell them on eBay that way. But most people that are buying that are going to want to know which cable is in there, and then if you're going to have to take the time to spell out what the cables are, you might as well just look them up and see if they're any worth listing individually.
Right. I think I was getting a ton of micro USB or USB-Cs or charging in the lightning cords, so in off-brand lightning cords. So what I was doing is I was lotting them up. So I was selling lots of 30 and 40 for like $25.
Nice.
A question for you I had. What was your worst item you had in your pallet this week? You remember?
Oh man, I haven't even looked through it this week.
What about last week? The worst thing you got in a return?
Oh, in a return?
Yeah. No, not in a return. In a
liquidation lot?
Yeah, liquidation lot.
I mean, it's kind of funny because I'm not a smoker. I've never smoked cigarettes, but one of the pairs of shoes I had they smelled like cigarette smoke so bad that like I was gagging. That's how I opened the box and was like, oh my god, these are terrible. So the box has still been closed and sitting in the same place. I got to figure out. I'll probably put them out in the sun for a couple of days and then I guess add them to the flea market pile. I've had some other pretty nasty stuff, but recently that's what comes to mind. It's probably not too crazy, I guess. I'm trying to think of what else.
Those are a good pair of boots if you're not throwing them away.
They're actually like the Adidas, like hiking style tennis shoes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So they're selling for they sell for like $40 to $45, and yep. They're mint condition. They just smell like smoke. So I know like people put in the freezer. I could try to get the smell out, but I gotta tend to those. I mean, I could also just take them down to the flea market and try to get $20 for them.
Someone said put in the freezer. I was going to mention that. Put them in the freezer. Yeah. Get rid of the smell.
What's the other trick? Like put them in a bag with something in the bag. I don't know. I know putting it out in the sun will help. It won't get rid of it completely. But yeah, right. Bag with charcoal. I've heard that before.
There you go. Charcoal. Yeah.
Trying to think of what else I've gotten recently.
I mean, I just can't believe.
If anyone wants to go back and watch some of my health and beauty YouTube, like my first couple YouTube videos, I've definitely gotten some adult toys in there. I'm like, oh my god, this is disgusting.
Like not even on the manifest?
No, they were on the manifest, but when I actually got to that part of the box and I'm videotaping, I'm like, yep, I'm just going to leave this one over here for now. We'll throw that away in a minute. Try not to make it. And people called it out later on in the chat, like at 56, whatever. Look at what he finds. There was literally one toy that I found that was like wrapped in like a shopping bag with the Amazon return label on it. Like it definitely was used. I'm like, that's freaking disgusting.
I don't know why they wouldn't just throw that away.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think is up to liquidation.com to make that decision.
Well, as they go through and restack the boxes, they have like a garbage box, like all the food, all the medicines, anything that looks to their discretion, they throw in there. So maybe they didn't know what it was.
Yeah, that might be one of the worst things I've ever gotten. What about you? Anything
Uh,
recently?
I mean, you get to see some of the crap that people return or switch out, which I don't get.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the bait and switch. I know you covered that in some other videos, but that was
Yeah,
on my list of when you're looking at that 20% damage, definitely double check that it's the right item that's supposed to be in the package.
I'll save some of the good bait switch outs, but in terms of my shoe palette, I mean, you can see that the people blatantly wore them for an extended period of time and returned them. It's like, I mean, they're walking through mud. There's, it's not like, hey, I had these shoes for a week and the sole ripped off. It's like they're still pretty good condition, but they just wore them and returned them.
Yeah, I think I got lucky because like half of mine was closeouts and like winter stuff, and when they were also probably just saying we're not selling this model of shoe anymore for the upcoming season. So it's like it was a pretty good mix, and a lot of it was. I only have like maybe like one Home Depot box full of used like shoes that aren't worth selling on eBay. So of 2 pallets worth of shoes, I've made out pretty good.
Yeah.
And a lot of them I sold without the box. I don't know if you saw the video of me smashing up a brand new Adidas boxes, but
I did. You were stepping all over them. Yeah.
yeah. So they just the difference between new open box versus brand new in the box was only like two. I mean, you could debate maybe up to $5, but that was the difference from me putting it either. Well, really, in most cases, it was either going first class for the ladies or for the men's being under 2 pounds or over 2 pounds, and that shipping difference, you're not going to get that back in that difference between new other versus brand new.
Yeah.
So. We have any other questions we needed to address, or what's up, Borderline Hoarderish? Scott, Liquidation King, Marie, thanks for coming. Justin, as always, how you doing, brother? Got Donna in here. Nice group tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming on over. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think next week we're going to talk about actually selling the product, shipping it, customer service. So if you guys have anything in that department you want us to cover, leave a comment down below, or you can throw it in the chat now, and we'll keep as long as people enjoy watching, we'll keep producing this content for you. Chris, do you have any final words?
No, I mean, think about the size of the stuff you're getting in, what you're getting in. Depending on the lots you're going to get, how are you going to test it? The space you're going to need to test it, right? So when I got my shoes, I had to have ample space to stack them, open them up, look at them. Electronics, I'm going to have an ample area to test stuff in, plug into speakers if I have to, but that sort of thing. So think about, visualize what you're going to have to do. No different than what you do when you get stuff from the thrift store, bring it into your house. What do you do with it, right? It's just going to, you're just going to get a lot more product at once.
Yep. And then throughout the week, I just signed up for Chris's LiquidationOH Facebook group. So as I'm posting on Instagram, I know not everybody is on Instagram. I will be adding some content on his page as well. So kind of getting back into Facebook a little bit. But I am also Liquidation Pros on Instagram. And then obviously Daniel Kale on Facebook. But the links to Instagram are down below. And Chris, if you want to drop the YouTube link, if you have that handy, or someone in the chat. I'm not YouTube. I'm sorry, Facebook.
Yeah, let me grab it here.
Grab that LiquidationOH. It's a private Facebook group. Tons of information. Basically, resellers helping resellers, and hopefully everybody eventually getting to the point where they are making some more money to help support their families. There it is. And Chris and I are working on some plans for the future. So hope everyone enjoyed it, and we will see you guys next week. See ya.
See ya.